Today, we're jumping into the incredible story of Naaman. Now, this was a man whose name made entire nations tremble. He was a commander, feared on the battlefield, honored by the king, but he was fighting a secret war, a battle against an enemy he just couldn't defeat, an enemy that was literally inside his own body. And that line, wow, it just gets right to the heart of it, doesn't it? It perfectly captures this huge conflict. You see, on the outside, he was the shining symbol of strength and power. But privately, he was being consumed by leprosy. All his power, all his fame, couldn't touch his pain. All right, so let's set the scene and really get to know our hero here. And I say hero, but he's a flawed one for sure. He's at the absolute top of his game, the king's right-hand man, the pride of the entire nation of Aram. But underneath all that glory, he's hiding a devastating secret. And this really shows you the two sides of Naaman's life. On one hand, you've got the undefeated commander, this public image of total invincibility. And on the other, you have the man with leprosy, forced to hide his suffering, living in constant shame. It's just such a stark reminder that even the people who seem to have it all together might be losing a battle we know nothing about. So just when it seems like there's no hope, a solution appears. But it comes from, and you're not going to believe this, the most unlikely source you could ever imagine. This is where the story really takes a turn. Just think about that for a second. It's not a king, it's not another general, it's a young girl, a captive who was taken in a war, serving in his house. She's the one who holds the key. It's just an amazing reminder that sometimes these world-changing miracles are hidden in the smallest, most overlooked voices. And that's it. That's the sentence that changes everything. It was spoken with a courage that was way bigger than her size. A simple statement of faith. And it sets Naaman on this journey that's going to challenge absolutely everything he thinks he knows about power, pride, and healing. So Naaman gets the king's blessing, he gathers up his best horses, his chariots, tons of gold and silver, and he heads off to Israel. Now, he's expecting a reception fit for a king, right? But what he finds is something completely different. So you have this incredible clash of two worlds. You have Naaman, this picture of worldly power and wealth, and he just rolls up to this simple, kind of unimpressive little house. He's expecting a whole spectacle, a grand welcome, maybe some lightning from the sky. Instead, he just waits and gets nothing. Instead of the prophet Elisha coming out to greet him, he sends a messenger with this simple, almost dismissive command. No ceremony, no big speeches, just a straightforward, humbling instruction. For a guy like Naaman, this was pretty much the ultimate insult. And this is where his pride just boils over. He is furious. He thought the prophet would come out, call on his God, wave his hands around, do something spectacular. Instead, he's told to go wash in a dirty river. He is ready to turn his whole entourage around and go straight home, completely missing his one-shot healing. So this brings us to the climax of the whole story. Naaman is at a crossroads. He has to make a choice. Does he listen to his pride, which is just screaming at him to leave, or does he listen to this tiny possibility of healing, which is going to require an act of serious humility? Thankfully, his servants have some sense. One of them comes up to him and says, "Look, if the prophet had told you to do some great, amazing thing, wouldn't you have done it? So why not just do this simple thing?" And that logic, it just cuts right through his anger. So the mighty commander takes off his armor, piece by piece, basically stripping away his pride, and he walks toward that muddy water. Okay, so he takes a deep breath, and he goes under. The water's murky, not very appealing. He comes up, his heart is pounding, but nothing, no change. So he goes down a second time, still nothing. A third, a fourth, and with every single dip, you can just imagine his frustration and humiliation growing. His pride is screaming, "This is foolish!" Obedience is hardest when you don't see any results. By that sixth dip, he must have been exhausted, his hope just flickering. And just when he's about to quit, one of his servants whispers to him, full of emotion, "My master, if God says 7, he means 7. That's it. That final little push, that simple statement of faith is all he needs. It's so true, isn't it? The miracle is so often waiting for us in that one last step. So he looks up to the sky, completely surrenders, and just sinks beneath the water one last time.
And when he comes up from the water, he's a new man. His skin is clean, it's smooth, completely restored. The scripture says it was like the skin of a newborn child. No scars, no shame, just total healing. You can just imagine the sob of relief escaping him. It's like when his pride went down into the water, his healing finally came up. Okay, so let's look at the aftermath, because this experience didn't just heal his body. It completely transformed his heart, his beliefs, everything. He goes back to Elisha, but he's not a proud commander anymore. He's this humbled, grateful man. He bows down and makes this powerful declaration. His physical healing led to this profound spiritual awakening. He even tries to give Elisha all this silver and gold, but the prophet, he refuses to take a single thing. But hold on, the story isn't over yet, because Elisha's integrity is immediately put side by side with the greed of his servant, Gehazi. So while the prophet is showing that God's power isn't for sale, Gehazi sees a golden opportunity for himself, and he literally chases after Naaman to get his hands on that treasure. So this final part of the story, it really serves as a cautionary tale. It shows us exactly what happens when greed tries to get in the way of a gift of grace, and it really crystallizes all the lessons we can take away from this whole wild journey. Gehazi lies to get the silver, but you can't lie to a prophet. When Elisha confronts him, the consequence is swift, and it is severe. The leprosy that left Naaman now clings to Gehazi. It's just a tragic, powerful picture of how greed can steal the very grace you just saw happen with your own eyes. So to wrap it all up, this story leaves us with 6 really powerful lessons. 1. God can use anyone, even a captive girl. 2. Your big breakthrough is often hidden in simple, obedient steps. 3. Humility is the key that unlocks miracles. 4. Listen to wise counsel. It can save you from yourself. 5. God's power is a gift. It's not something you can buy. And finally, number 6, greed will always, always destroy what grace gives.
And that brings us to our final thought for today. The story of Naaman is ancient, but the challenge it presents is absolutely timeless. It really leaves us with a question to think about in our own lives. What healing, what breakthrough, what transformation might be waiting for you on the other side of a humbling step? What is the muddy river that your own pride is keeping you from entering?